Welcome to our hometown.
Thank you for being here. Kendall, you want to come on up? Come on up. Kendall, why don't you start us off? This is your town.
Oh, well, you know, Beto's a great guy. Y'all know that. Y'all follow him. And this year, we have a huge opportunity to be able to elect folks that want government to work, right? Not folks that want to dismantle it and stop funding it, right? So this year, I'm fighting to make sure that we invest in our public schools. That's my big pet issue. You know that, right? And Beto has a whole lot on his plate too, and he's really excited to tell you about it. And I just really appreciate you letting me be a part of it.
Of course, yeah. Thank you, Kendall. Yeah, appreciate it. We love Kendall. We just got to hear him speak at our last stop in Greenville. Love the way he's campaigning right now. We're campaigning much the same way. No PACs, no political action committees, no corporations, no special interests, just the people of Texas, 254 counties, one county at a time. We're visiting all of them. We were just in a part of the state that you all refer to as West Texas. We in El Paso call East Texas. Odessa, Midland, Amarillo, Brownfield, just the best people anywhere, and we're finding them everywhere, every single part of this state, and it's the greatest joy of my life, outside of being married to Amy for 12 years and having 3 amazing kids, to join forces with so many great Texans who want to do what is most necessary at the most important time in this country's history, I would argue, in the last 150 years. So this is our moment of truth, and whether it's fighting for health care or jobs or immigration reform that matches our values or interests, or get this, taking back our democracy so that it is people who are being represented and not corporations and special interests. That's the way that we're doing it. That's the way you are doing this. And so you give me so much hope and optimism. You are so encouraging to me and those who are helping to run this campaign. 10,000 people have signed up to volunteer on this campaign across Texas so far. This race will be won by the people of Texas. And I just want to say thank you for being here, for welcoming us here. And I want to, if Cynthia will give us a little bit of time, part of the reason I came here was to listen to you, not to have you listen to me. If you've got a suggestion, a question, an idea, something that you want me to know about Sulphur Springs, I'm here to listen and to learn. And if not, I will repeat everything I just learned on Wikipedia about the courthouse. Constructed in 1894, 1895, it's this neo-Romanesque architecture, firm out of San Antonio. It's actually, we saw it as we drove in, this main street as we came through, this courthouse, the flag in the city square. This is just beautiful. This is just awesome to be here. But tell me what's on your mind. Raise a hand, speak out, and let's have a conversation.
I was in Greenville, raising my hand and get the turn to ask questions.
Great.
What is your view on refugee situation? You as a country of immigrants, and we are sitting way back there on refugee acceptance or support. So where do you stand on that issue?
Yeah. So you think about the fact that we are the greatest country on the face of the planet in the history of the world, at least in my opinion. What helped us to achieve that? What has distinguished us across the world? It is the fact that for 230 years, we are one out of many. That if immigration's a problem, as you heard me say before, it's the greatest problem this country could have, comprised of asylum seekers and refugees and immigrants the world over who chose us. That is the source and explanation of so much of our success. Part of the reason I'm running is the absolute absurdity of having a president who wants to deny the ability for all Muslims, which was his promise during the campaign, from being able to immigrate or seek asylum in our country. We would do that at our own peril. We would lose out on the potential, on the wisdom, on the expertise, on the experience that everyone from any of those countries that he's proposed in his travel ban could bring to this country. So I want to raise the cap on refugees that we accept. By the way, refugees are among the most vetted immigrants that we accept into this country. It's very hard to come here as a refugee. We have the capacity. We're the wealthiest country in the world, the most powerful. We can certainly do it, and no one benefits more from accepting refugees than the United States in terms of what those refugees do for this country. So that's my position. That's I think a Texas value that we represent. Thanks for asking. Yes, ma'am.
What do you think is going to happen on the CHIP program, and why are the Republicans trying to use the CHIP program as a bargaining tool for whatever they're up to?
This is part of the craziness in Washington, D.C. Our approval rating, and I'm a member of this institution, 9%. Communism, 11%. Chlamydia, 8%. We're in this sweet spot, explained by the fact that we don't do the very obvious basic things that are no-brainers. 400,000 kids in Texas have parents who earn too much to enroll in Medicaid, not enough to afford private insurance. 400,000 kids. CHIP is the program that allows them to see a doctor, afford their medication. We had to renew it at the end of September. We're months now behind, and it runs out of money and authorization on the 19th of this month. And so for me to get my vote to keep ensuring that we're funding this government, ensure that we do everything that we said we were going to do, we have to look out for the most vulnerable. It's good for those CHIP beneficiaries. It's great for Texas to take care of them preventatively, proactively, allow them to see a doctor instead of rolling them into an ER or losing their lives completely, which are the consequences for kids who can't see a doctor, who need to see a doctor. So CHIP has been a bipartisan priority in every single Congress until this one. And so I'm going to try to do an even better job of listening to my Republican colleagues and find out what it will take to get them to reauthorize CHIP. But that absolutely has to be a priority going forward. Other questions, comments?
I have a question for you. My opponent always calls me a one-issue candidate because all I talk about is our public schools. I was wondering what role you believe that the federal government plays in our public schools, more particularly in stopping school vouchers.
Yeah, so this tax bill that just passed adds $1.5 trillion to the deficits and to the national debt. Those tax cuts will go to the very wealthiest. We mortgage your future, and more importantly, your kids' future, to send money to people who are already really rich and have too much of it. Ted Cruz's contribution to this tax bill cost $500 million and allows already wealthy parents to send their kids to private schools tax-free. Who makes up the difference? Everyone else, especially those 90% of us, and I'm one of them, who send our kids to public schools. That money will leave our public school classrooms, our public school teachers, and go into those private schools. Además, he wants to also move forward with private school vouchers. 51 senators voted to confirm Betsy DeVos as our Secretary of Education. Ted Cruz was the 51st vote. People ask, what difference does a senator make? That one senator, that one vote could have made the difference on school vouchers, taking money away from our public schools, our public school teachers, our public school classrooms. So that's my position on vouchers. We absolutely got to stop it.
I do have a concern. I don't know what role you would play in that. When I was in high school, there were students that wouldn't eat because they wouldn't allow it because they, we have to pay, for the lunch and everything like that. I just think that's ridiculous because then they complain about how students are doing good in school, but then they forget that they're not feeding them.
They're too poor.
They're too poor to.
All this stuff is connected. You have a president whose budget not only cuts things like the State Department by 31%, but cuts SNAP, the nutrition programs.
They want to help out the rich more than they want to help middle class and poor.
And it's all connected. How do you learn when you don't have enough calories or fuel in your system to process what's coming in and to produce what needs to come out? Healthcare, being able to be healthy enough to go to that class or to be able to teach that class. All of this stuff is connected. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Corporations got large tax cuts, but at the same time, they have not funded their pensions. Where do you come out of that?
Yeah. Somebody pointed out at a town hall in Odessa last week, if you just move the corporate tax rate up to 25, not where it has been before, but not as low as it's proposed to be in this new tax bill, you would generate $400 billion to the Treasury that you could use to invest in education, in food programs, in healthcare, whatever it is, and also to make sure that we hold those accountable. I was just meeting with, I don't know if we have him here from the last meeting, somebody who worked on the railroads, a retired railroad employee. Don't screw with my pension was his one command for me as I left. Social Security beneficiaries who paid in their entire working lives, we know that as soon as the next decade we will not be able to fulfill 100% of our obligations along this current trajectory. I signed on to the Social Security 2100 Act that raises the cap on which rich people pay into the Social Security Trust Fund. It makes it solvent well into the next century. So absolutely, and then corporations have a responsibility to those who ensure that they were successful, who made those profits possible to fund their pensions. And we got to make sure that we hold them to that same standard.
Not doing that to teachers having problems with their pension.
Retired teachers, TRS, you have not seen an increase adjusted for inflation in more than a decade. And to paraphrase George Washington, your ability to recruit the best and brightest is dependent on how they see those who've already served being treated. And we're not treating our retired teachers very well in the state of Texas. Yes, sir.
Beto, we appreciate you being here. I want you to commit to coming back after the primary. I know you got
Absolutely, you got it. Yes. And you guys,
let us bring you a crowd.
let's do it. And you all work on the weather.